Hey, what's up, Canada and beyond? Welcome to our show today. I hope you're having a fabulous Friday so far. Today is going to be a bit of a busy day on the What's Up Canada front with two shows today. First, we've got John Mark Dugan straight from Moscow, and he's going to be giving us some reality checks on what's really going on over there and what we're all supporting from this end over here. We're doing some things a little bit different today. We are continuing to develop our existence outside of the mainstream legacy social media platforms. So this first show, we're going to be streaming this live on our website as well for the first time ever at whatsupcanada.org. And you'll also catch this stream on Odyssey and Wimkin live as well. So at some point, if I think that we're going to be getting into some stuff that Facebook or YouTube will likely deplatform us for, I may think that that's an appropriate time to drop us out of those two platforms, and hopefully we hope. Hopefully, people will find their way over to either our website or to one of these alternative platforms that do not censor us, that do not keep us from talking about what really matters. So this is kind of a new adventure, and I'm not going to waste a whole lot of time talking. I'm going to bring my friend John up on the screen here to and say welcome, John. It's been a little while.
Hey,
Congratulations on the new studio. All
thank
the
you.
bells and whistles, man. You're making me envious.
I know. Here, I'll show you a little overview. So, I spent a lot of time on this, a lot of time.
It's pretty awesome. I'm trying not to get green with envy here, but I'm glad to see
Well,
that
yours is
you're
nice too.
the magic of green screen and technology.
Is it a green screen?
Yeah. So it's been a little while since I've had you on. It seems like every time I have you on, I have to rebuild social media platforms. I don't know how you do it, managing to stay on YouTube. Is there something that is different with YouTube over there, or that is or is this because we're on the end that they can control? It just
No,
doesn't make sense to me.
I don't know. I feel like I'm pretty neutral.
Well, to you are, but when we look at what we're allowed to share over here, and I applaud you on that neutrality. Although it's got to be a difficult edge to walk, being an expat, a former American who.
hmm
Uh, uh, Literally devoted your entire adult life to the cause of good, yeah, the Marines, law enforcement, until you had to leave America. Does that ever give you moments or where you just are be baffled and bewildered as to what's next? How do you articulate the difference between being understanding the American mindset, and now you're living exactly the opposite of what you grew up knowing and hearing?
Oh, that's a good question. Frankly speaking, I've never been happier, and I mean, I have a very deep hole where my children are supposed to be because I haven't seen them in 6 years. So, I mean, but generally speaking, my life, um, in all other aspects, is so much better here. Um, like I would have not been able to do what you guys did and stay quarantined during the pandemic. I couldn't have done it. I would have gone effing crazy, right?
But
Um, and while you guys were cooped up during the quarantine, I was in my Land Rover Defender. I drove it all across Russia. I hit several hundred cities. I've been to 300 cities total since I've been here. I spent 6 months while you guys were locked up, just having a great time, going to restaurants and nightclubs and meeting awesome people. Um, there's a sense of freedom here. And I know you hear from other people that, oh, Russia, there's no freedom in Russia too. It's a lie. I have much more freedoms here than you guys have there, or that people in the West have in general. And it, I just feel like I'm home.
You bring up a couple of points there, particularly relating to the lockdowns and the pandemic here. What is everyday life like over there? Do you have a percentage of the population walking around in masks, stepping up for boosters every 90 days? Security, two-tiered health systems. Do you guys have any of that over there at all?
No, no.
That's this is why I'm at you. I know that these are probably stupid questions to anybody that lives over there, but I've been watching I watch all of your stuff, and over the last 3 years that we've been talking and working together, I come to appreciate the lifestyle that you live over there, and it reminds me more of what my life was here in the 80s and 90s
In the
than
80s, yes.
you know it,
Yeah.
it's
I
it,
I I'm really shocked at what has happened in America. I'm really shocked at everything that's happening there.
Well, that's something that we could spend a couple of hours articulating how it got to be like that. This over here, I don't think anybody could do a better job of explaining that than Yuri Brezmenov, the former KGB analyst that was talking in the '80s about this whole thing. And you could it was he was literally giving us the playbook on that, and that's been really coming to light over the last year or so. People are noticing what's been going on, and uh, we get censored for it. That's pretty
Yeah,
much.
it's crazy. And the censorship is like nothing I've ever seen before. I mean, you know, there's a problem when American social media companies and these tech giants and these other media companies have to block resources. They have to block RT. They have to block VKontakte, which is like the Russian Facebook. They tried blocking Telegram, and even like if you get Telegram from the App Store, you can't go to like the RT channel. You have to download Telegram from the Telegram website if you want to do that. And Apple users can't do that, only Android users. Um, what is happening there, I never thought I would ever see in my lifetime. And even as much as, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago, I never thought I would see it in my lifetime, but here we are.
I was just going to ask you that. Now that you've per se escaped the boiling pot, do you see how much you were lied to more clearly about the reality of the world now that you're, like I say, escaped the boiling pot per se? Uh,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. And you know what? It is such an eye opener, because look, I've had the opportunity that very few Westerners will ever have, and that's going to the Donbass myself, speaking to the people there myself. Okay. And not just speaking to people in big cities, but speaking to people on the front lines, speaking to people that are terrified of Ukrainian rule, hiding in their basements from Ukrainian snipers. I've gotten to speak to all of these people. And then I try to justify this with what I'm seeing reported in the Western media. And it's just shocking, the lies that you guys are being told. And I want to scream so loud that all of America can hear me and saying, "What the fuck is this? They're lying to you." Because, I only have 35, 32, or 33 or 34,000 people that watch my channel. And, that's not even what, it's a hundredth, one thousandth, of the population of America, right? That's nothing. Like people don't hear this, and you know, this is why I like coming on to other people's show. You call me up. I'm happy to set aside my Friday night to come speak to you to tell your people that they're lying to you. Not just in America, Canada also. So
Well, and this is where our echo chambers started to overlap 3 years ago. In For me, it's been incredibly frustrating seeing all of the media lying, because within those lies, they have completely omitted any narrative or discussion or culpability or accountability on Canada. And without Canada, people need to understand, without Canadian assistance, none of this would have happened. Canada has been primarily the money Maytag machine for the cabal Biden Obama regime for decades and decades. And that was where John and I first started to connect, looking at Burisma, long before anybody else in the Western world had heard of, Biden's Hunter's dealings or any of those things. I'd been chasing that for a really, really long time. And I even went to Europe. I didn't go as far as to Eastern Europe, but I could see the blatant lies. And I was so dejected by all of that. But at the end of the day, I think it's created an opportunity for people like us to do something that makes an actual difference. And although our numbers might be small, our communities are mighty, and they've really taken to helping people find accurate information. And that's one of the things that I want to do more covering of from people that are boots on the ground over there, because we know here the legacy media is 100% bunk. If you turn into any news station here, save maybe Tucker on Fox, he's about the only one that challenges the accepted discussion. But everywhere else, Ukraine is winning. Ukraine is kicking Russia's butt. Putin is done. The war is over. And that couldn't be farther from the truth. And we're going to start to get into some of the nitty gritty of the nuts and bolts of darkness that I see and you see and you talk about every day. And there's others like you. I've just connected with Mike over at Earl Grey, who also does, incredible commentary on showing people the reality outside of his window, and uh, giving us a perspective from that we just can't find anywhere else. So this is why I think what we're doing today is so vitally important, because at the end of the day, these clowns that control the media are they're literally trying to corner us into a planetary ending, species ending calamity. And I don't think anybody really wants that. I think nations have been playing along with this to going along to get along. But I think the tides are truly turning in this situation. I think as people are maybe going to start to accept that. Wait a minute. If Russia was such a large, strong enemy that the entire United States had to fear them for 50 years, does it really make sense that Zelensky is taking them apart? I don't think so.
yeah,
Um, in my assumption, and I'm going to throw out a couple of my interpretations on this, and
okay,
you can tell me what you think from the other side of it, and tell me if I'm barking up the right tree. And I think that we are entering the season of political sacrificial lambs. I think Zelensky's days on this planet are absolutely numbered. Whether Putin takes him out or his own people take him out, Zelensky is making demands that nobody else wants to write checks on. I think that the elections in those four regions that have chosen to join Russia changes the game 100%, because
because
now if NATO and Zelensky chooses to escalate from this point forward, they will feel the full force and might of the Soviet or the Russian army. And
yeah,
I think this is a game changer. And we're seeing the last couple of days Zelensky's demand to be accepted into NATO basically kiboshed. We're seeing the banks turning on the International Finance Committee. The European Union is collapsing, and the whole world is coming apart by simply attempting to be the enforcers of America's bullying. And I think that those days are almost over. How far
Yeah.
off am I?
No, you're 100% correct. You're 100% correct. And what people don't understand is now this is a little bit of a conspiracy theory that I just something's not right about this. And the Biden family has had so much dealing with China. And I look at what all the sanctions have been doing, okay? And all of these sanctions have been enriching the Chinese. It
And
is
Russia.
well, in Russia too, but
In the
look,
long term, Russia stands to gain out of all of this as we implode. They're the only ones that are going to be left with basic infrastructure and reliable energy.
well, this is true, yeah. But what I'm talking about is in the short term. So the European car industry here is gone. You can't buy a Mercedes, you can't buy a BMW or an Audi or a Volkswagen. Okay. So that market for 140 million people has opened up and it's being pushed to the Chinese. And 3 months ago, when I started doing research on that, the Chinese car market had quadrupled in size here. I can't even imagine what it is now because every time you go to a mall, like instead of seeing Mercedes and Audi in the middle of the mall, you see like a really nice Chinese car, and their cars are nice. I have one.
Well, and people, I don't think they understand how much that is actually happening here as well. Through all of these sanctions and all of this communism, American manufacturers that depend on Chinese parts are sitting with dealership lots that are 100% empty. And we've got Biden, who is literally buying this kind of stuff with American oil reserves because they won't take his currency.
Yeah.
So Biden is literally robbing from his own people to buy goods from the nations that he is trying to sanction and punish, and it's such a hypocrisy. And it's this is that part of that insanity that I say is unsustainable. And it's up to us at this point, I think, to make people understand what the differences are between the charade of media and politics and the reality of where they're taking us.
Yeah. Well, you made a good point about people not taking the currency anymore. Look, nobody wants to have currency weaponized against them. And America, by weaponizing the dollar, right? People don't want to deal with that stuff. So you either play the US's game, toe their line, or else sanctions. Okay? Nobody's going to be putting up with that anymore. China doesn't want the dollar. India, they want to start cutting out the dollar. Iran, so what's happening is the US is pushing all of these countries into their own currency system, their
Mhm.
own a different currency system. And once there's a different benchmark currency instead of the dollar, maybe it's the Chinese yuan, but once there's a different one, and you want Chinese goods, you have to pay with the yuan. America can't say no. America can't say no to that. So this is going to destabilize the dollar like nobody has ever seen. The reason why the dollar is so strong now is because it's the global currency. But you take that away from a country that has what are we up to $30 trillion now almost? $30 trillion in debt?
Yeah, it's unrecoverable at this point. Canada's
The
exactly
the
the same.
the yeah, you take the global currency away from these people and which is the dollar, and they're done. They're done. And the value of the dollar is going to sink like a rock.
Well, I think we're seeing the beginnings of that when the euro is on par, when the sterling is on par or below, and it's not getting better for these nations, and we people aren't connecting the dots between this war on energy and the collapse that it's creating. And there's a lot of nations out there that are not willing to bite this giant green new deal to the utter destruction of their own nations, and they are seeking alternatives. And I think we're going to start seeing the world ganging up on the U.S. And throwing them to the wolves. Why are they going to destroy their countries for America's benefit when they're literally going to be hung out to dry? Germany is a prime example of that. Sweden just announcing that they're closing an entire energy oil field. This is all about trying to destroy uh, life as we know it, to force us into this green economy that is absolutely unsustainable, and the rest of the world is having none of it, I don't think. And I think they're about fed up and done with it. And it seems to me, it kind of feels like uh, these nations that oppose this green agenda, they're have leaders that actually have the interests of their nations at heart, not the interests of America's nation at heart. And I don't think that they're going to play this game a whole lot longer. And I think this is why they're trying to escalate the rhetoric, because the people that are trying to take over and control America, shall I say, the corporate entities, it's no longer the American people in control. It's the corporate entities that weren't happy with just controlling America. They're now trying to control the whole world. And the population of the world is having none of it. We're seeing extreme changes like Italy, and Italy could in 3 months be an energy dynamo in Europe. What does that do to So there's all these nations that are fracturing. We've got Hungary, and that is saying no. Austria is rebelling. We've got Nancy Pelosi flying over to Armenia to crack the whip. This is desperation times, and the other leaders of the world smell the blood in the water. And I don't think that this trajectory goes well for us. I don't think that the American industrial war complex is going to get what they want out of this, which is literally a war to distract from the issues that are at home. And I think that their days are numbered in America.
Yeah, well, it's interesting that you mentioned that Europe is going to have none of it. The Western intelligence agencies, I should say the United States intelligence agencies, knew exactly that, and that's why they did what they did with the Nord Stream pipeline.
Well, this brings up some of the meat and the potatoes that we wanted to get into. Right from the moment that happened, um, I could see that for what it was another wedge subject, an opportunity for them to try to blame things on Putin, but none of it made any sense. Why would he take out the primary leverage, negotiation leverage tool that he had, which was
Yeah,
power, energy, and gas? So
ridiculous.
I wasn't going to come outright and say that Biden ordered it, that this was an American military operation, but anybody that's been paying attention has seen a mass escalation in contractors
Right.
and endless sums of American money completely unaccounted for. It would take some of these bad actors about 5 minutes to hire a team to come in and do something like that, since America has, basically unleashed an entire generation of contractors on the planet. These guys are straight up mercenaries. They don't hold allegiance to any flag or nation. They hold allegiance to the dollar bill that they're being hired upon. I think this is probably a more realistic expectation of what probably actually happened there, in order to drive up the rhetoric, a false flag event.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that that's exactly what happened. Uh, Biden was bragging about it. Um, you had Condoleezza Rice. There was an interesting clip about her that
Mhm.
from her that surfaced from 2014. Um, there's so many factors that point uh, to U.S. Involvement, and recently I received a letter um, from I guess somebody that watches my channel, and it's a very interesting letter.
Tell the story about that, John.
So I had um, I got an email or I got a message on Signal asking if I could set up a encrypted email account. I'm not going to say which one I used, which service, but I said sure, and I did. I gave the email address, and he, I received a letter, and I received some photographs of an individual in the military. Okay, I'm just going to say that individual in a military. I'm not going to say which military. It showed him at the what is it called? Ball tops. Yeah, it showed him at ball tops, and also was a copy of his military identification. And I can read this to you if you want.
Absolutely.
Hold on one sec. It says, "Dear Mr. Dugan, I write this letter in hopes you might share it. I cannot share the information myself because it will be detrimental to my career and my life. I'm sending you this photo as proof I was there, as well as a copy of my identification. You may share this with one other journalist that you trust, but it is not to leave your possession. It is vital you do not share this with anybody and that you never use this mail account again. You may read the letter verbatim as it is written." And here's how it's written. "I had a leading administration role in the June Baltops 22 military exercises near Bornholm Island, Denmark. I can't give you my exact title because it will allow my identity to be revealed. There were some unusual details involving a group of U.S. Navy sailors from Naval Strike and Support Forces, NATO, or Strike for NATO, who had arrived from Stockholm. While it seemed strange at the time, in retrospect, now things look outright nefarious. Let me explain. Forgive me in advance if I get any of the terminology wrong. The military of my country may use different words. I can't be specific in my job, but I worked coordinating dive teams under a underwater missions. So I think they probably use Google Translate or something because the it's a little screwed up. With various militaries in the NATO alliance. On June 15, the day of the exercise, I was working coordinating certain aspects of this exercise. I must be vague in this part. A U.S. military helicopter arrived carrying a group of men who were supposed to be U.S. Navy anti mine personnel. They exited, unloaded their gear, and met with both the U.S. Navy Vice Admiral and a group of American men in plain clothes that had arrived a few hours earlier. We all suspected uh, to be some type of intelligence officers. After a short conversation that I could not hear because of the sound of helicopters, they approached for their briefing. I found it rather strange that they were from the U.S. Navy. My first thought was that they looked like a group of terrorists, not anyone from the U.S. Navy. The other groups we had from many of the other military branches had some sort of standards. Haircuts, for example. Not only did these men have wild hair that would have breached any civilized nation's code of military standards, but they had facial hair as well. As I said, they looked like more like Middle Eastern terrorists. None of these men wore identification tags around their necks. The other thing that I found odd was that they claimed to be there to search for underwater mines. However, they lacked the equipment for such exercise. Their equipment consisted of the latest Navy issued deep diving underwater rebreathers and some small hard case boxes. We call them pelicans. Their job was to take a rubber boat to a predetermined location, search for anti ship mines, and return to shore with their findings. Usually, in such an endeavor, they have long metal detection equipment, but that was absent from their collection of gear. A detail I thought to be very strange here was that while other mine EOD teams wore traditional scuba gear with tanks and such, this gear was wearing state-of-the-art helium rebreather helmets and dive suits. Though I have never seen one up close, I'm quite certain these were the MK-29 systems made for deep dives and to this day remain classified. My country's military wouldn't even be able to afford the helium for these, let alone the suits themselves. These suits certainly would not be required for locating mines that sit just a few meters below the surface. They took their boat offshore, not to the area where the simulated mines were placed, but to an entirely different location. My colleague, who was monitoring different team locations, made an offhanded joke about how the U.S. Navy had gotten lost and was 2,000 meters from the target location. They exited their boat wearing their rebreathers, and they disappeared under the water for over 6 hours. There is no self-contained underwater gear that I know of that can keep a diver under for 6 hours. With the newest military systems, 3 or 4 max is possible if the diver isn't exerting themselves. After a few hours, we began to get concerned, and we contacted the coordinator for the U.S. 6th Fleet, who assured us that everything was fine, they were in contact, and to ignore it and not make any reports about it. After the exercise was over and they returned, almost all of their pelicans were missing. They did not stay for any pleasantries. They had a short conversation with the civilian people from the U.S., got onto a waiting helicopter, and left. The civilians they were the civilians they were talking to also left, but on a different helicopter. The mission was later marked as completed successful, even though they were not anywhere near the target location. In retrospect, here are my suspicions. The divers met with a small waiting submersible that shuttled them to the area of the pipeline. The explosives required for such an act wouldn't have fit in their equipment that would be used to mark. Hold on. Wouldn't have fit in. Oh, sorry. I'm reading small text. The explosives required for such an act wouldn't have fit in their gear, so I suspect they were carrying survey and locating equipment that would be used to mark where the explosives needed would be placed. Once they examined the pipeline and marked their proper coordinates, they would have time to examine this data with explosive engineers, return to the site at a later time, and place required charges to be detonated on a timer or remotely. Thank you. Yeah, so that was the letter.
When I heard you read that the first time the other day, I've been listening to all of the talking heads and pundits and journalists and all of these, prognosticators that were assuming or suggesting, and none of it rang real to me until I heard your letter on your show the other day. And that is, anybody that's been paying attention to black ops, dark money, safari club type of organizations and what they do, I couldn't see anything that fit the puzzle pieces together better than what this guy was suggesting. This is entirely plausible, and it is, to me, the most plausible explanation that I think anybody has come up with or alluded to at this point. And I guess this is one of those things that is going to take a while, but it's definitely created a bone for everybody to chew on. And I think that they tend to watch which way the winds blow, and after these events, and I don't think they like the direction that the wind has been blowing after this event. I think they actually believed that they would get away with blaming this on Russia, blaming this on Putin, and it would get them more of what they wanted, which was chaos and destruction.
Well, I mean, look, I don't see how anybody would actually believe that it was Putin that did this, because if he doesn't want Europe to have gas, they control it at this end.
He'd already turned it off.
Yeah. There's absolutely no reason to blow the pipeline. It's crazy. That's, you know, that's insane.
And it's again, like I say, this, I think that this is one of the contributing factors, watching the fallout of this event that is causing the cabal, for lack of a better term, Mr. Globalist, to backtrack a little bit on how far they're willing to go, because I don't think that they're getting the support, the rah-rah, let's go and blow up Russia, that they were hoping for.
Yeah, well, I think that clip of Biden surfaced, and I think a lot of people started wondering. And it's very interesting because not just he's got a big mouth. For instance, when he bragged about how he was going to stop the investigation of corruption in Ukraine, he said, "Oh, we're gonna." I told them if they kept investigating, I was gonna keep $1 billion from them. Sorry, my friend just arrived with some food I haven't eaten all day.
Oh, well, I won't keep you till it's cold, but I do want to kind of race through a couple of these. For sure.
No,
Being shy. And this is, I think, some of the things that we have to discuss reasonably in order for people to not just get emotionally jacked right away on the situation. We have to start, we have to put this into the context of the bigger picture of what we're dealing with on the global scale, and people are caught up in the traps that are right in front of their faces, keeping them obliterated their attention span, and we're not being effective enough in countering this, because I don't think anybody on earth wants this, except for either the eco-terrorists that actually believe that a nuclear winter would save the planet and depopulate us all at the same time. But outside of that radical fringe group, who basically are the sycophants of the World Economic Forum, I don't think the world wants any of this. And I think, in spite of everything, the court of public opinion is shutting this garbage down, as evidenced by NATO backtracking, other nations backtracking. When you see India and China together lobbying the United Nations to find a peace deal, what part of that is not cluing into people that this is just stupidity?
Absolutely. But you know what? Zelensky won't accept one. He refuses, and that's because he's told by the U.S. government not to.
There is no surrender option. And again, we've got this is one thing that frustrates me. How long will the world keep buying when America says, no, we don't recognize that election, we're going to do what we want anyway? This has been the pattern of America, to just choose to decide for other countries what they want for them. And if they decide they don't want to recognize it, they'll just go in and demolish it. And that's, I think, where they've kind of called wolf too many times. And and it's not going to work.
It's like the word racist. It's lost its meaning. You can only call so many people a racist between people who are like, well, that doesn't mean anything. It's the same thing when you say Russian propaganda. You can only use that so many times, and then people just don't believe it anymore, because, when they said that just asking questions is buying into Russian propaganda about the Nord Stream pipeline? Oh, come on. You
Right.
know, I mean, yeah. So
But
now, anytime I hear somebody say, "Oh, that's Russian propaganda," you know it's true. You know it's true. The Hunter Biden laptop, this, anything that's Russian propaganda, what they mean is this is true.
and people make the mistake of calling us, for trying to have reasonable discussions, calling us Russian propagandists or liars or all of the things that they want to label us, thinking that we want Putin to wipe out Ukraine. No, that isn't it at all.
No.
Ukrainians are dying, and there is a definitive line on which is recognized and accepted by the fascist regime that America and Canada planted and trained and funded and supplied, that are literally causing the death of Ukrainians. Putin is a lawyer and very legalistic, and nobody has brought up anywhere in the Western world things like the fact that Ukraine wasn't even a sovereign nation, or the Potsdam Treaty that NATO and the European nations have completely broken every step of the way. And what Putin is actually doing, and I see this in his actions, is he is following those treaties. He is actually following the law. So regardless of what people want to label us as, we're talking about the reality there. Nobody wants to see Ukrainians killed. But the fact is that until Trump left office, I think Putin had hope that there was going to be some cleanup of this problem that had been going on for 10 years. You and I have talked about the things that have been done to the people in the Donbass for 10 years, in those regions for 10 years. Why on earth would anybody believe for a second that those people, given a choice, would choose to remain in Ukraine?
Yeah. You know, you got a problem when you've got 360 some odd children on a Ukrainian death list, where 13 journalists on that list have been murdered since they've been put on. My friend Daria Dugina was killed by a car bomb by the Ukrainian government. It turns out, by the Ukrainian government. She was on that kill list. Yep. She was on that kill list.
New York Times did a piece on that, I believe, day before yesterday or yesterday. And that is literally an act of terrorism and war against a sovereign nation by a terrorist in Zelensky. And so they're not the good guys. Nobody's saying that Putin is the good guy either, but we have to look at the reality of what we're talking about. And this isn't a cartoon strip that we can rewrite it as we go. People are dying for all of the wrong reasons.
Yeah. There's a 9-year-old girl on that kill list. 9 years old. In fact, I interviewed, you go to my channel and watch my interview with Faina. And she's incredible. She's 13 years old, and she's been on this kill list since she's 12. Crazy.
This is the number one thing that I wanted people to get out of this program today, was this is what you're supporting, this is what you're funding, whether you agree to war or not. But when one of the parties are targeting for assassination children, don't you think it's worth doing a little bit of due diligence and figuring out who and what you're actually involved in? And I think these are the kinds of things that are causing other nations to say, nope, we want out of this mess.
Yeah.
So I know your dinner's getting cold on you, and we could talk about this kind of stuff for hours, John. We got about 7 or 8 minutes left here. I'm gonna let you go. But what is it that you think is the most important message that is not getting out to people on this side of the pond right now? We've covered some pretty tough stuff here that most people that follow people that follow me have seen bits of. Where do you think this has taken us, and what do they need to know about what you see coming?
The narrative being pushed by the West is a complete lie. They are omitting vital facts and vital information in effort to get people on board with their weapons brokering and their money laundering and their destabilization of Russia and their killing of people in Donbass. And these people, they need to pay very close attention. And they need to start watching people like you, like me, Scott Ritter. I love that guy, Earl Grey. I just started watching him like a week ago, and he's fantastic. And I didn't know that you've actually spoken to him. So I send me his contact information. I would love to speak with that guy.
Yeah, I would love nothing more than the three of us to get on a platform and triangulate a lot of what we're covering and seeing. It's no different than finding a location on a map from three points of known information. You can often triangulate an exact position, and I think that would be a pretty amazing thing for people to get a chance to hear. Mike is in St. Petersburg. You're in Russia. He's I don't know what his wife does for a living, but they're incredibly intelligent and very plugged in.
Yeah, he's a very, very analytical guy. Very analytical.
Yeah.
And his English is absolutely brilliant.
He's a Brit.
Oh, he's a Brit.
He's also a Brit vet.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Fascinating.
He was I believe he was just infantry, but he has a very, very analytical mind, exactly as you stated, and he reads through the garbage in a way that is very easy for people to digest. He's one of us. He's a common guy that just refuses to accept that there is nothing that he can do, that there's voices that must be heard. And so my hats are definitely off to both of you gentlemen for everything that you're doing over there, because there is risk to this. You're on that hit list.
Yes, I am. But I you know what? It's fine. Come get me, people.
Well, I'm kind of the same way here. Hold my beer. If you're gonna, God's gonna decide. Nobody else is.
You know what? If I had to choose between going out from old age, a boring, or going out with one hell of a story like a car bomb, I'm choosing the car bomb.
Well, knock on wood there, buddy. I want to keep you around for a while. I don't want to miss interviews. I was really looking forward to having Dorina on our show at some point. But that one really hit me hard over here, realizing how far and desperate these guys would reach to silence those who are brave enough to say anything. And what scares me about that is we're not that far from that type of thing here in North America.
Yeah, I know.
I don't believe we are.
I know. It's terrible.
It's insane. Well, I want to let you go and have your dinner, John.
I was going to play one thing for you. Hold on.
Oh, for sure.
Real quick. I just want to play. Let's see if I can do this real quick. Let's see. All right, so I got that. And home, and this is I miss this girl so much. Let's see. Where's my Telegram? Where's my Telegram? Daria. We had
While he's looking for that, folks, if you're not following John, his YouTube channel is streaming across the bottom there. I highly recommend you go and give that a follow. Do you stream or do stuff elsewhere, John? I didn't get any links from you beforehand, but I'm sure they can find it all on your YouTube channel.
Mostly I just stream. Here we go. Oh, maybe you can't hear. Hold up.
I want to wait for this. I know what you're pulling up.
Just
Video, some scenes. Um,
no. Hold on. Just one more sec. I just have to find. Is this? Well, maybe I can't find it. Oh
no, I think we stopped the day after.
no.
John, it was a joke on the site long time ago. In the
It's just
beginning of the
Daria. I mean,
special
I have all these old
preparation.
voice messages from her, and I just really like this girl. She's so nice.
She was such a bright light
Yeah,
in for the people. She was there for the people,
and what a
and
smart girl. Smart girl.
highly intuitive, incredibly intelligent and educated. And I was a huge fan, and that's a crime against the rest of the world, having her silenced.
Yeah.
And I know the fallout from that isn't over yet, because her dad is pretty significant to what's happening over there as well.
Yeah.
And he's getting a really bad rap by the West as well, in my opinion. He was there for the people that are trying to escape that, for the people of the Donbass region.
Yeah.
He
Well,
was
you just
helping
need to
to
listen to him
reestablish.
to understand what a good guy he is. You just have to listen to him. It's the same thing. Putin gets a bad rap. You got to listen to Putin. Watch his speeches. Listen to him. They're amazing people.
The thing that I can say unequivocally is, and I only actually started to listening to these people, actually listening to them about 2 years ago, and 100% of everything that they have said, they have been consistent in.
And
100%.
and it's true. It's true. I mean, they don't sit there and lie to the people like the U.S. politicians.
No, Putin went to in Davos in 2021 January, told them straight up he was done playing this game, and nobody listened.
Yeah.
Nobody listened. Every step of the way,
Well,
he's been telling us
maybe
exactly
the
what he's going to
CIA
do.
listened. Maybe the CIA listened. That's why they pushed the U.S. into a war with Ukraine, because they want to get rid of Putin.
They desperately do. I think he is the fly in their ointment for the one world government that they so desperately want, and so are so heavily financed in, and they are losing astronomically. In my opinion, it's all over. The only thing that we haven't seen yet is the tip top of the Tower of Babel hit the ground yet.
Yeah, man.
So stay out of the way. Stay out of the. Don't become collateral damage, and start living outside of all of that.
Well, thanks, brother.
It's been a pleasure, John.
You too. Thanks for
taking the
having
time
me.
on your Friday night, and we'll do it again real soon. We won't wait so long. I'm not worried about getting shut off anymore. We're streaming on our own platforms now. So
Great.
awesome. Thank
All
you,
right,
sir.
bud. Bye.
Bye for now. All right, guys, that was awesome. I've been looking forward to having John back for a while. Follow his platform. Find I Earl Grey as well. These guys are taking risks to make sure that we get to hear something that is at least more thought provoking than any of the drivel and the nonsense that we hear typically from our own propaganda stations. They are not news. That's one for the day, guys. 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. We've got another show this evening with an equally controversial subject, perhaps even more so. I want to know why, and I want to discuss with people out there what they can do and who exists to help those who have lost people to the jabs, to this experiment. It's bad enough that the victims themselves are silenced. We will never hear their voices again. But why? Why are we accepting the silencing of those left behind, the families of the victims, the people that have to deal with the devastation and destruction? So, at 6 p.m. Central tonight, we have got Tiago, the founder of Died Suddenly News, who has had multiple platforms silenced, and several of us are taking matters to task to provide them outlet and voice. People need to hear these voices. It's a crime that these people are being silenced as well. So thank you for everybody that tuned in here the first time today. And I hope we see you all more often. I'll try and do some of these a little bit more often. I've been kind of a ghost the last little while, but sometimes when you're writing the headlines, you don't have time to talk about the headlines. So it's always a juggling act here on my end of it, guys. So thank you so much for tuning in. Find us, follow us on Rumble and Wimkin, or our platform at whatsupcanada.com. I'll throw a little link up there for everybody that if they're around or they find value in what we're doing, there's places there where they can help us out. I do follow all of those guys. Thanks, Chuck, for your comment there. At the end of the day, it's up to us, and we're getting it done, albeit slowly, but surely. Humanity wins and God wins. So the sooner we start doing what's right instead of what's easy, the sooner we make that happen. So God bless everybody. Stay strong, wherever you're at. Don't forget who you are. Don't forget where you come from, and together we will make our nations proud again. We're not just going to make America great again. There's a lot of nations that need to be made great again, and whether we choose to take part in the politics, that I'm not going to tell anybody what to do, but I will say, take part in humanity. Don't give that up for the sake of a digital space or a digital world or any of those things. So take care, stay safe. I'm going to run a little promo at the tail end here, guys. We've got a partnership. Actually, maybe I'll pull up a quick screen share just to show you guys some of what we've been doing a little bit. All right. Check out our street camo shop, guys. We've got all kinds of messaging that we can take out to the streets that helps in different ways. Not only does it create a message, but it helps people recognize who is safe for them to come and talk to. There's some great ideas in designs and messaging up there, guys. Don't be woke. The day of woke is over. Be woke, go broke. So that is one of the things that we are doing. That is a Canadian partnership. Everything that we put up there is produced by a Canadian company. All right. All of the clothing items, a couple of the cups and those kinds of things that are out there are created in the States, but for the most part, we've done everything we could to support Canadian business and take our message to the streets in ways that cannot be silenced. And you'll be surprised at how many folks will come up to you and just start to talk. That is how you find your tribe. That is how you find your people, guys. So that's one of the things that we are doing. That is not done as a profit thing for us. To be honest with you, this is a partnership with a stay-at-home mom that is providing for their existence. So this is collaboration and teamwork at its finest. There's a lot more different adventures and opportunities that are being created outside of this paradigm. So it's a great time to rebuild, because we're going to have to rebuild, because there's no going back to normal. That can never be. But this is the opportunity to build it as we see proper, not to sink back into those times of corruption and lies. So this is a giant purge on the entire world of all things that are just sick and horrible. So yeah, this is a way for us to fight back even when we're not talking. So on that note, guys, God bless you all. Stay safe, stay strong, and we will see you all again in just under 5 hours. Bookmark us, save us, give us a share, and we'll see you all again real soon. Bye for now.